Hello, my name is Jay Nelson. I'll be the instructor for this online version of the Drupal Content Contributor Training. I've recorded a whole bunch of videos, so you'll see me over and over again. I want to just quickly orient you to Drupal and to the Moodle course. The Moodle course, you already have access to just the first section. We will officially open it up on Monday morning when the class actually starts, and then you can work through it at your leisure throughout the week. This is pretty much equivalent to the face-to-face training, which is scheduled for 3 hours, so it should take you roughly that amount of time. I would assume some people might be able to get through the content much quicker than that. You can work at your own pace. You can ask questions in the Moodle site if you have any. I and some other instructors will be subscribed to the Moodle forums, so whenever you post a question, we should be able to get back to you fairly quickly. And if you have any technical problems with Moodle or Drupal, you can email me directly. The email address is on the Moodle site. So just to quickly orient you to the layout of what you need, Moodle, Drupal, all of this stuff is up in the cloud, so you can access it using any modern current web browser. And the Moodle site, I'm already logged in. The Moodle site is just broken up into separate activities. Each activity has a brief description. There are some resources for you to use. There's an assignment. You will need to complete the assignments. And the only requirement for completing an assignment is to submit a URL to the thing that you made or were working on. So here, the instructions for creating a course page, and then you'll need to submit the URL to move on to the next section. I'll go back to the Moodle page, and then each of the activities has a how-to video where I will narrate and walk through performing the activity. So if you get stuck, you can refer to that. That was there. And then also at the top of the Moodle page, there is a forum for course questions. And you can go there and ask any type of question that you have about Drupal or Moodle or whatever. We will be using a training site in the Drupal environment at the University of Minnesota, and it is a website for the College of Picotechnology. It's an imaginary college at the University of Minnesota. If anyone's wondering, picotechnology is technology at the atomic level. It's going to be the future of things all over the place. So this is a made-up website, and it's broken up into courses, faculty, and news, and we'll be making each of these types of content. You can poke around this website and see how it is designed, and then we'll be making content as we go along. This is not the actual site we will be using in this class. This is my face-to-face site, which just has some content in it already, the site30.Drupal training. We'll be using a clone of this website for the online version of the class. And that is listed in the Moodle site. As mentioned before, Drupal is accessible via a modern current web browser. You can use any web browser you want, provided it is current. And by current, it means the current version or one previous version. If you're using an older version of a web browser, you will have problems. So you might want to contact your IT department to update any web browsers you have. Usually you can find out what the version of your web browser is by going to the Help menu or the About menu. Or you could ask your IT support people. So you can use any modern current web browser. I am using either Safari or Firefox in these demonstration videos, so the behavior is exactly the same no matter what I'm using. To log in, you will need to go to the website and then append SAML_login. I'm already logged in. If you're not logged in, it will take you to Central Authentication, where you can go and type in your University of Minnesota Internet ID and password, and you'll be logged in. Drupal is role-based. So depending on what role you will have more and more responsibilities in the website. At the very beginning, one of the first tasks you have is to log into the Drupal College of Picotechnology website so that I can assign the roles. So when you first log in, you won't be able to do anything. It will be just completely the same behavior as it was before you logged in. So then once class starts, I'll go and give everyone content contributor role. You will do a few activities. When you're ready, you can request to be promoted to a senior editor, and you'll see that you have more options to do things. I'm logged in as myself, so I'm an administrator in this, and I have access to all of the tools in Drupal. But Drupal is role-based. You need to log in once first in order to get access to do more things. As you're working through the content, there is also the Drupal Self-Help Guide. This URL is going to be changing, so don't write this down. I will have the Drupal Self-Help Guide URL in the Moodle site with links to it all over the place. But the Drupal Self-Help Guide is designed for all people using Drupal at the University of Minnesota. It is a process map, so you start here and you wake up one day and you wonder what Drupal is, so you can find out what Drupal is. There's some information here, there's a course for the orientation, etc. And then once you find that out, you can start planning your Drupal site. So like I said, this is a process map, and for the most part, this first column, we are not going to be doing anything in this. This is all getting things set up. This is covered in detail in the Managing and Creating Websites in Drupal class, which is the face-to-face 3-day, 3.5 hours per day class. Our class, Contributing Content to a Drupal Site, we will be spending our time in this middle column, and primarily in this section, Add, Edit, and Delete Content for your site. So we will be working with web pages. Here's how to create pages. Here's how to add things to menus, publishing. If you're working with images, here's help on working with images, as well as some other content here. So we will not be using all of the self-help guide in this course, but it is all available for you. And like I said, it is a process. So eventually, at some point in the far distant future, you would be retiring your website. So there's instructions on archiving your Drupal site. They're not here now because the focus is almost entirely 100% on creating new Drupal sites, since Drupal is new at the university. So that's the self-help guide. There's references to it in the activities. You can bookmark it and come back to it over and over again. There is built-in help in Drupal. So I've come back to Drupal. If you click the menu, once you get access to it, there is help right now. This help is pointing to generic Drupal, which in my opinion is not very helpful to me. It's written more as a very high technical level for most of the documentation, and it doesn't really apply to what we are doing in this course. But you can poke around in the help. It's there. You can read about it. But for the most part, like I said, it's not very helpful, which is why we have the Drupal Self-Help Guide as the just-in-time assistance that you might need when you're working in Drupal. As I mentioned previously, if you have questions when you're doing any of the activities, you can come back to the Moodle site, and at the top there's a section for course questions. And you can post a question there. As I mentioned, there is myself and 1 or 2 other people will be monitoring the forums. There aren't any questions here because we haven't started the class yet. But you can post a question. If you do have a question about how to do something in Drupal, I would recommend that you include the URL of the item you're working on. So if I was working on this news article and I was having a problem getting the image inserted properly or getting the hyperlink done, just go up here, copy the URL from the browser, and post that in the forum question. It'll make it easier to see what is the sticking point. If you forget to do that, that's fine. I can always search for content by user, so I could put in your internet ID and find it that way. And you'll find out that searching for stuff in Drupal is relatively easy and painless. So that's the very, very high overview of the Moodle course, the Drupal website, and the Drupal self-help guide. So I'm going to stop this video now, and then when we start the class up on Monday, you will be let loose to play around in the Drupal site. If you have any questions before we start, again, that Moodle forum for course questions is open, so you can go and type your questions in there. Thank you very much, and I hope you have fun with Drupal.